Welcome, ladies and gents. Crystal Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter, or of course you can subscribe to the channel. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk about Jaime Munguia. He was just in a very exciting fight against Jimmy Kelly. Jimmy Kelly came out in the first round and he started to really move and box against Munguia. And we know that Munguia is very good against fighters who like to come forward, guys that want to engage with him. You know, the Gabriel Rosados of the world, the Sherametas of the world, these type of fighters, Liam Smith. You know, these are really good wins, right? Liam Smith and Gabriel Rosado, to deal with them in the way he dealt with them, it's very impressive. But it's the guys that are movers that are more likely to give him a lot of problems. And we're going to talk about some of the issues that he had today. And what happened is Kelly, like I said, came out in the first round and he was making Munguia actually bite on feints, because when he was throwing punches, they had something on him, right? So he wasn't just pitter-patting and moving away. Kelly came to win and he believed in himself and he started off very well. And one of the problems that was instantly visible to me is that when Munguia was biting on those feints, he would be jumping back way too far back, way out of range, to the point where he was not then in a position to come back with a shot. So even if Kelly was to fall short, he's not going to get punished for it. So he outworked him and he took the first round. In the second round, you saw some more excellent movement from Jimmy Kelly. And he landed two left hands. And it came off of, I guess you could call it a feint of a right hand, but he sort of locked, he fell into the pivot for a left hand, right, where he could come up with a straight left shot, but he showed him the right hand. Now, whether Munguia thought he was going with a right hand down the pipe or setting up to come with a straight up jab to the head, regardless of which of the two he bought, because it was a feint that could have sold either one, it was really nice misdirection, he sort of froze and instead he came around the guard with a left hook and he followed it up with another left hook straight after that, and you could see that he hurt Munguia. And so he then tried to up the tempo, Jaime, and Kelly looked really composed. And there were moments where I thought after that he started to hold his feet a little bit. And I'm just thinking, don't get too greedy, right? And at the end of the third round, the following round, his trainer actually said to him in the corner, Jimmy, don't get greedy. So his corner were giving him the correct advice. Keep moving, keeping him resetting. Now, one of the reasons the movement was giving Munguia problems is because his stance wasn't square enough. He had his left foot forward and his right foot almost directly behind it. So he's so off at the shoulder, whereby a slight movement to his own left from Kelly, who had fast feet, required a moment for him to reset. There was a pause. And because he was on the outside of that shoulder, by the time he then turns, if Kelly decides to jump in, before he's set to then throw a shot, Kelly's landing and moving again. Whereas if his feet were just a little bit more square, as he tries to exit on that side, he would have had an opening to cut off that exit, right? You don't want to be too square because that will also affect your mobility. But he just didn't have it quite square enough. And this is an issue I actually felt Kambosos had with Haney at points, by the way. The positioning of his feet. It's setting up for a clean boxing match where someone's going to be ahead of you. But when there's movement laterally, it just wasn't, he wasn't able to reset quickly enough, Munguia. However, I felt that in the third round, he did outwork Kelly. Now, this was a swing round. It could have gone to Kelly. So you could have had Munguia 3-0 down after 3 rounds. I personally edged it to Munguia, however. Then comes the fourth round and Kelly is having more success again. Even when Munguia was landing shots, he would be jumping in, right? Trying to reach, trying to get to the guy who's moving. He would have his success. And as he's pulling out, this long-rangey shot would come in from Kelly and be catching him on the way out. So he's winning the boxing match at range. When it becomes a fight, Munguia's starting to land shots. And as he's pulling out, Kelly's landing something just as a little goodbye present, right? Okay, you've done a bit of damage, but take this for good measure on your way out. And so Kelly is starting to look really good now. There was an issue though with Kelly. When he was bringing that backhand in at points, he would be he would be shifting essentially, throwing his straight hand so long, his back leg would come off the floor and he would shift and almost go into a southpaw position. But it wasn't done by design to change the angle on a guy the way someone like Gennady Golovkin does it, right? It wasn't done like that. It was done because he was committing so much to that right hand. If Munguia wasn't jumping so far back that he couldn't then punish him for doing something like that, and it was just taking half a step back, if Kelly was to fall short, and that wouldn't be easy to do because Kelly was rangy, but if he was to fall short, he could then come back and counter him, kind of like a pull counter type of motion. If Kelly was too long to get all the way back and then come back in, he could have slipped the shot or come low, come under it and then come back in. The point is Kelly was starting to run a few red lights, but he was getting away with it, right? He was getting away with it. Everything was going his way. So I had him either 3-1 up or potentially 4-0 up at that point. Then came the final round. And you saw that Kelly started to get a little bit too greedy again. And as he was on the inside, you saw Munguia in his element. A guy has come to fight him. And he's not only got power and he's not only heavy-handed, Munguia, and he not only puts combinations together well, his shot selection is very good and very intelligent. After all, his trainer is the great Eric Morales, right, who was brilliant at that sort of thing. So he's training with a dude who is going to maximize his abilities in those situations. You do not want to be training inside with Munguia. And he slipped the shot, landed a beautiful uppercut, which dropped Kelly. Kelly then gets up, right, and he tries to meet fire with fire. I'm not sure whether he does this because his legs are gone and he's stationary and he didn't feel like he could tie up. Maybe he didn't feel that the angle was there for him to tie up. Or whether he just felt, look, I've been landing all these shots on Munguia whenever I'm throwing. I'm going to meet fire with fire to deter him. I don't know what his thought process was in that moment, but he went down again. He got dropped again. And that was that. That is that Munguia equalizer that we talk about, right? It's that level of power that he's got where he's able to change the fight in an instant. We've seen him do this before when he's been struggling. And then after that, he carried on going after Kelly, and Kelly was in a state of panic, and he threw a flurry of shots and he overwhelmed Kelly. And Kelly seemed to go down by his own accord. You heard Sergio Mora in the corner shout out, "That was smart from Kelly. He's gone down without eating a shot." He did this to buy himself time. We've seen Timothy Bradley do that in the past against Ruslan Provodnikov. I'm not going to eat the extra shot because I know I'm in a bit of trouble here. I'm going to take a knee. I'm going to get another 10 seconds. There's only then 13 seconds of the round remaining. I'm going to beat the count. And then I'm going to go to my corner and I'm going to have my rest, and I'll come back refreshed. And hopefully I can do what I was doing prior to getting knocked down. He gets up, he beats the count, he's up. You've got to be ready to fight before the count of 10. He was up, he was looking lucid, he was looking at the referee. The referee looked at him, spoke to him, and then waved the fight away. And you could see he was instantly gutted. To me, it was a very premature stoppage. It was way too premature because he was lucid, his legs were sturdy. He almost opted to go down by his own accord, as Sergio Mora himself said. To me, it was way too premature. And the reason this is a little bit disappointing is because Munguia put in a big effort. What if he'd punched himself out? You saw when Teofimo Lopez dropped George Kambosos in round 10 and really went for it and tried to knock him out, and Kambosos survived. He won rounds 10 and 11 and 12 because Lopez had put in a big effort to get him out of there, and Kambosos had regained his composure and started to win the fight on the jab, right? So the point is, it could have been a lot more interesting had this fight been allowed to develop. Nonetheless, look, I really like Jaime Munguia, right? How can you not like this dude in terms of his fighting style? He's very entertaining. He's out there now calling out Charlo. That's a fight I would love to see. It's a fight that people need to start demanding, to be honest with you, because if Charlo's not going to fight Benavidez, what are we doing over here? He's got to fight somebody, right? This is an exciting fight. And Charlo will fancy his chances. He'll think, listen, if I can get on the back foot and move, is Munguia going to be able to get close to me? We know that Charlo isn't afraid of an inside fight, and we know Munguia's quality on the inside. It's going to be an affair whereby the Mexican Americans are going to get behind Munguia. You're going to have an American crowd behind Charlo. So it can be built up as a big fight. I'd love to see it. And it would be a real sort of pay-per-view level fight in terms of entertainment, because when is Munguia ever involved in anything less than a highly entertaining fight? So I'm a big fan of his style. He's progressing on his inside game with Eric Morales, but for me there are still some issues with his foot positioning, with dealing with fighters who are very good movers and consistently get you to reset. So for me, I still feel as though he needs to work on cutting off the ring. I understand you want to work and improve your actual boxing skills, and I get that too. Keep working on that behind the scenes in the gym. But ultimately, with the skill set that you've got to focus on perfecting a pressure fighting style, and that means preventing fighters from being able to move and pop you and move the way that Kelly was doing tonight to Jaime Munguia. Let me know what you think of the fight. Do you think the fight could have gone another way had it not been this, what I believe was a premature stoppage? Could Kelly have gotten a second wind? Could we have seen many more interesting rounds to come, or do you think he was cooked, he was done, and it was only a matter of time before he got splattered all over the place? Who knows? How do you think a Munguia Charlo fight would go to? Please don't forget to hit the like button with a jab, the notifications button with a right cross, and the subscribe button with an uppercut. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care and God bless.